Rush just played their first live performance with Anika Nilles, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect. But after watching it, I think the real question here isn't, is this still Rush? But what was it exactly that made Rush feel like Rush in the first place? So at the Juno Awards, Rush took the stage and played Finding My Way, a very deep cut from the very beginning of Rush's career. And that detail there matters a lot more than you might think, because we all know this was a test. It was a test to see how Anika would do. It was a test to see if Geddy's voice would hold up. It was a test to see if the energy would be there and if Alex's fingers could still function. Well, the first thing that I noticed about the performance was the energy was very real. This didn't feel stiff, it didn't feel over-rehearsed, they didn't feel cautious, they didn't seem like a band walking on eggshells. It felt like a band that actually wanted to be there, big smiles on their faces, and there was so much enthusiasm. Fire in the performance for such an early Rush track tells you something. They're not faking it, and this really is a celebration of the Rush canon. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is Geddy Lee's voice. This is where things could have gone sideways or even really wrong, especially with a song like this from early on in their career. But honestly, his voice sounded really good. Not perfect, not untouched, not auto-tuned, and not helped out by backup singers, but just kind of strong and controlled and confident. And more importantly, he sounded like he believed in what he was doing up there. He's having a lot of fun, and the delivery of the lyrics was close to the original. There was no attempt to compensate. He just let it rip. Now we get to the very big question, Anika Nilles. Here's what stood out for me anyway, immediately about her playing. She didn't try to be like Neil Peart. She didn't try to be like John Rutsey. Instead, she brought something completely different to this track, which was a sense of swing, honestly, just fun. Her playing had a ton of looseness and bounce. It gave the performance a really interesting emotional tone. But that tone was get up on your feet and dance and be happy. Let's go, let's party. And the band totally responded to it. They looked lighter, open, and completely caught up in the moment. But there is an important part about them playing Finding My Way that I think I need to point out, which is the drums were originally played by John Rutsey, not Neil Peart. So while this performance tells us something about Anika and Rush, it doesn't tell us everything. We still don't know what Anika will sound like tackling Neil Peart's actual drumming part. And that's the real test, because that's where Rush's identity gets a lot more complicated. In fact, I have a video in the members only section on what will be the toughest section of Tom Sawyer for Anika Nilles to play live, and you might want to check that one out. Probably not the section you'd think, so if you're interested, take a look in the members section. Alright, now we gotta talk a little bit about Loren Gold, who played keyboards with the band. This is the first time Rush has appeared on stage with 4 members. And there wasn't a huge sense of what Loren Gold is going to bring to the table from this one performance. But there is one key thing I will mention. His presence didn't hurt the band's stage image or their impact in any way. And I think just that in itself is a win, because adding another musician to Rush was always considered to be a very delicate thing. So far, it feels like perfectly natural. So here are the things that my viewers have noticed that they think could be problems for the reunion tour. I'm going to take them one at a time and then tell you whether or not this particular performance addressed each one. So let's start with Geddy's vocals. Yes, this performance addressed the issue of Geddy's vocals and showed 2 important things. 1, he's going to sing live, he's not going to use auto-tune. And 2, he can still pull it off, even if he can't hit the notes as high as he used to. He can get close enough for rock and roll. Now, number 2, Anika Nilles. Is she going to be a good replacement for Neil? Is she going to try to be a replacement for Neil? Or is she going to bring her own stamp to the song? Well, from what we saw from this performance, she's going to do it her way. But she's going to do it her way in a fashion that shows that she's analyzed Neil. She understands what he brought to the table. Even though, like I said, this wasn't a Neil Peart song. But she played with the spirit of Rush. And her part could have been the original part. It would have worked just fine. So her playing is different than John Rutsey, it's different than Neil Peart, but it fits with Rush, and I think that's the key. Third is whether or not Alex Lifeson can still pull it off. Well, this song from early on in Rush's career shows a lot of fast finger work. This was back in Alex's Jimmy Page days, and he could play very smoothly. So my feeling here is that Alex really hasn't lost a step. We'll have to see whether or not the perils of extended touring take their toll on him over time. But what it showed in this performance is that Alex Lifeson's playing is very much up to snuff. So as far as Geddy Lee's voice goes, we're good. As far as Anika goes, we're good. As far as Alex's guitar goes, it seems right on the mark. So the only outstanding issue is the high ticket prices and whether or not Rush will be able to sustain this over the long term. I also think we saw a little bit into what they might bring as far as new music goes, which is a bit more swinginess than they had in the past with Neil. So I think rather than going in a direction of digitization or synth-driven music, I think we might see some jazzier, kind of swing-infused music from them when they release new tracks. Well, I do have one complaint about the performance, but it doesn't have anything to do with the band. It was the audience, because for a performance like this, they just sat there like mannequins. And that's a little bit concerning to me. I came up in the era where you went to a show and you really let it out. That's part of the whole point of going there. Have the ticket prices started to push out the true Rushaholics? Will this be what it looks like if a lot of the hardcore fans are not able to attend? Will there just be a bunch of wooden mannequins sitting in their seats while the band rages on? So here's where I land on all of this. This one performance didn't answer all my questions, but it answered the most important one, which is, does this version of Rush have life in it? Well, I think the answer is clearly yes. The chemistry was there, the energy was there, the music sounded great. The possibility is definitely there for a great celebratory reunion tour. But even though I thought the performance was great, I was left with one nagging fear. And that fear, honestly, is that a lot of people like me who wish that they had a ticket to one of the shows will not be able to see Rush because the prices are simply too high. And in this economy, every penny counts. So while the spirit of celebration is there, again, I still feel a little bit of sting at the high ticket prices. Now, I want to hear from you. Did you see the performance? Did you feel like it was still Rush? Or were you let down in some ways? Do you feel this is a good celebration of the old band or something new entirely? Let me know in the comments below. Welcome, members. Most people think that the hardest part of drumming a song Tom Sawyer is the intro groove, or maybe the pre-synth breakdown, but that's not it. The real test for any drummer stepping into this song, especially for someone like Anika Nilles, is what happens under